Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Happy Mother's Day to all you fabulous mothers. And with that said, I'm super excited because I have become a new mother by force, as my daughter has brought home a kitty. So we have named her Princess, and she is currently, I don't know if you can see, she's currently hanging out right now. And she's hanging out in my shirt because um, she would not let me leave her alone. So I said, fine, you can hang out here. She's 8 weeks old. And so I'm a brand new mom of a kitty. I have no idea what I'm doing. So any help is great. Now, so listen, if she makes any distractions, please have mercy. I do have a little teddy bear for her if she does decide to get distracted that she can play with as I try to talk with you guys today. Now, with that said, I want us to go into this podcast talking about a couple of things. Of course, I want to start out with a reminder. First reminders is that the Let's Get Gritty podcast is featured on Spotify. It's also featured on social media platforms. If you do not know what my social media platforms are, you can follow me on Facebook as Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123. Please follow, like, and subscribe. I'm doing a lot of cool things on there, but I do stuff with gardening and stuff too, and other topics I might be posting about this little girl here. But anyway, and then TikTok is Dr. India White. Also, my website, you're always welcome to it, www.india-white.com. You can find books, blogs. People have been contacting me about the summer and about this upcoming school year. I also want to remind you guys, we do have the FCTM conference coming up. If you are a Florida educator or interested in coming to Florida, we've got a phenomenal lineup of speakers that will be there. I also have a virtual conference coming up in Texas in June. I'm super excited about that. And of course, I always have the G.R.I.T Academy open for teachers or actually for students that are needing some extra supports. Also, don't forget the grassroots workshop. It's on, thank you, Robert Kaplinski and team for that. You can find it there. Also, I've already told you guys about the G.R.I.T Academy. And so with that said, I do want to talk a little bit today because we are talking about grit and we're talking about moms because it is simply Mother's Day around the corner. And so I want to respect our moms. So today I want to talk about grit for moms. It has taken me a lot to have a lot of grit, especially for this new little cat that I have that's hanging out. You guys can see her, right? Can you see her? She's so cute. I don't want to wake her. She's doing her thing. But anyway, so all right. So I want to first start off by just first congratulating all of you moms out there and those that support moms in this time as our babies are finishing the year. Speaking of our children finishing the year, I'm grateful because my baby boy is now finishing the 8th grade. He makes me very proud. And I mean, he has just been a beam of joy since the first day he has been in my life. And I am so thankful for him. And I'm so proud of him and how smart he is, how athletic he is, and all that good stuff. He just really brings the joy to my spirit. So kudos to Asa and his classmates as they cross over to high school. Now, I want to talk with you guys today, moms especially, and I just want to say, no matter where you find yourself, you are always to be celebrated. You've done a great job. You're doing the best that you can. Babies don't come with a manual. You just kind of got to be mom. You got to figure this thing out. I'll never forget the first few times, after giving birth to Shekinah, my daughter, the first one, I just remembered not knowing anything. And I was so nervous, but I was thankful I was able to call my mom and call my mentor and stuff and really have some conversations. But there's something so nerve-wracking about being a mom for the first time. You know what I mean? Because the babies, they don't always just fall asleep like this kitty has fallen asleep on me. You can kind of see her. But anyway, they don't always just do that. They cry, they have different cries. And as they grow, they're still your baby. They just have different needs now. Like my kids are teenagers, but they're still my babies. They're still my babies. There are times I often still think of, when they were little, and I used to carry them around and, change their diapers and love on them and, saw them grow up and, they go through the pudgy stage, they go through adolescence, the acne war, just so many different things, their first friends, their first crushes, all that. I think it's beautiful. But also there's like an academic piece to that. And I want to talk with you moms about that, because how do you stay gritty now that we're ending the school year and kids are pretty much checked out? They've taken their assessments for the most part, maybe have one left, one or two left. And so they're kind of in a zone where they're just like, whatever. How do you help your kiddo, right? So that they want to persist. So some tips for you guys. I want to start out with some tips. So first things first is keeping a consistent routine is huge, because as the school year is winding down, schedules will become hectic with exams, projects, and events. You have to help them maintain regular sleep, get their homework done still, and have meal routines that will help them focus. Sometimes you can pack a banana or orange in there, in their bags, and, just love on them, and give them reminders as you're driving them to work or driving them to the bus. All right. Now, another thing that we can do as parents is we can create a calm study place, a quiet, organized area for studying to help them concentrate. I would say also dork it out with them, question them on things and see like where do they stand with, their knowledge on various topics. Making sure they have the supplies and minimum distractions, to help them finish strong in the year is huge. She's like hiding in my shirt now. This is so cute. Sorry. All right. Let's keep going. The next thing here is we're going to encourage breaks and balance, because when we do this helps our children, because they do tend to feel overwhelmed at the end of the school year with all these exams and how do they stay organized and all this. So encouraging those short breaks, outdoor time, exercise, and moments where they can relax. I would also say make sure you always have positivity coming from you, because your child needs a safe haven. They need a safe place, because if they're getting ridiculed out there in the classroom and then they come home and they're getting ridiculed, it's just overwhelming, right? So let's do what we can to be that positive voice, that positive inspiration for our kiddos. Next, making sure that we are celebrating not just the effort, but the grades, because positive encouragement is always going to build that confidence in your children, and it's going to motivate them to keep trying. I also want to look at this, staying involved and communicate. Still check in about assignments and things. I know it's May, and I know it seems like teachers are like the ball is winding down. Everything is ending. That doesn't mean that you have to fall off the face of the planet. You can still contact teachers and find out what's going on with your child. Okay. So with that said, I now want to share my screen because I wanted to just share a blog that I wrote for teachers. And so I'm going to share this with you guys. So give me a moment. Gritty tips for moms. There's my baby. Aww. All right, there he is. So we talked about having tips for you guys during the end of the school year. And we mentioned how you should encourage having breaks and balances for your children. But I now want to go down to other things. Like, here are some practical ways that we can support students as moms and help them to finish the school year successfully. So, when you're creating the consistent routine, this is huge because it's going to help them to stay focused and energized. It's going to be a predictable routine that will reduce anxiety in stressful weeks. I can't tell you how much stress our children are holding in and they're not telling us about, and they just need us to create an environment, cook wholesome meals, do things like get involved, ask questions. When you say, how was school? Good. Okay, what is good? Elaborate. Be interested. Okay. Creating that positive study environment is huge because it's going to help them feel, calm and focused on their work. Also, I want you to consider to focus on encouragement over pressure, because at the end of the school year, it's a great time to remind your students that efforts matter. Celebrating perseverance, improvement, and responsibility can help build confidence and reduce fear of failure. And having those positive encouragement, that helps students to develop a healthy mindset about learning and achievement. So doing this, it's going to help them, along with those supportive words that will help make all of the difference for your children during a difficult week. Saying prayers for them too. Also, staying connected and supportive is huge. Having regular conversations about schools, that will help you to understand where your children are and how they're experiencing things emotionally. Okay. They need to know that you just believe in them and that you're there for them no matter what. And that you really want them to win. You want them to win the trophy, right? You want them to win it and to be successful, like my little guy. So with that said, guys, I wanted to share that because, I think that, at the end of the year, it can be tempting to kind of get down your child's throat about why they don't know this or what's going on. And instead, we need to come with velvet gloves and, just be more understanding of our children. So I am willing to help any parents out there that might need help with this. I actually do have a grit workbook for parents that you can find on my website. You can find it on Amazon, a grit workbook for parents. So contact me, let me know, and we will get you plugged in. I also wanted to show you another cool little article that I found from Forbes. And I'm trying to stay as calm as possible because this little kitty here is asleep. Heck, U.S. schools may make life harder for working parents. And I want to mention this because not everybody's a stay-at-home. Many of us are out here working. It says that line came from a Center for American Progress Analysis that was written nearly a decade ago. The situation has not necessarily improved. Workday that research suggests is a key to sustainability is, sorry. I don't know what she's doing. All right. She's just trying to get comfortable. Okay. Sorry. Isn't sweeping overhauls, but small research-backed adjustments that compound over time. The strategy below reflects both expert advice and lived wisdom of diverse working mothers. Single parents, please give them honor, not shame. Single parents are amazing. Moms of children with special needs and those managing hybrid or fully remote work, give them their flowers as well. All right. Each tactic is designed to be practical, immediately usable, and measurable in its impact, whether that's time saved, stress reduced, or productivity gained. Because working parenthood is far more above meal prepping, here's 20 strategies that will help us to thrive throughout the school year. So, of course, keeping that morning launch pad basket near the door, shoes, keys, anything. And she's a working mom of 3 boys. Oof, that's a lot of fun. You can lay clothes out on Sunday. This actually is a really good idea. Getting the clothes ready that night is perfect. So she says here, I plan and prep the week's laundry, snacks, and more in one block on weekday mornings, run on autopilot. I love it. Here, keeping a breakfast station so kids can self-serve. Now, I can learn from this because I like to cook, like do things for my kids in the morning. Like, does research on habits show that routines reduce cognitive demand and free attention for higher order tasks? In my family, that means dozen small decisions every week. I like that. Next, packing lunch the night before. Pick out 6 snacks, 1 for each day, plus an extra. We put them in a gallon bag inside of their backpacks. And next, schedule a buffer. treat 17, this is perfect. Treat 7:15 a.m. as the fake leave time so that when the shoe goes missing, you can still make the bell. Good. You keep going, it says you can set up a family on your kids' schedules with work priorities that leads to measurable decreases in last minute conflicts. You can also automate recurring school payments from lunch accounts to field trips. Automation, it keeps costs separate, reduces overdraft risk, and ensures payments aren't missed, even if some schools require occasional check. So that's pretty neat. And it's going to keep going and talking about all these neat ideas. And I'm going to stop sharing because I think it's really neat. But to be honest, every household is different. And we can do what we can do in our power to, give our children the support they need, and to continue to help them to move forward with everything. All right, so now I want to go and talk about, as parents, how we can build grit. I found a really cool video from a parent that was talking to us. So let's see what he has to say about building grit.
In pretty fortunate circumstances. They're not in a tough environment. They're not in a rough neighborhood. Maybe they don't have, some, various struggles. We have to find ways to incorporate grit into their day-to-day life, because that level of resilience is necessary for them to be able to tackle challenges. And again, life's going to throw challenges, curveballs, and at them. And if they don't have.
So I think that's kind of cool what he's saying. And you could check him out later on the YouTube. I don't want to get flagged. But as you can see, so many people from all over are talking about grit. I'll give a couple of tips and a couple of examples in different phases of the kiddos' lives of my babies and how it's worked out. For me, it was kind of interesting because, life did throw me a curveball. So I went from, the assumption of thinking that I would have, the whole family unit, the traditional home, and things just didn't pan out that way. So here we are. So what do you do? So I found that when they were younger, grades K-5, it was very important to have a system that we now have. Now it's autopilot, a system of when they wake up, if they have any responsibilities that they do, like little chores that are not too much, you can incentivize those. Having time where they can study, having time where they hang out with their friends, things like that was so important. I actually came up with a template where I actually documented everything they did throughout the week, followed the schedule with fidelity. And I tell you, I think that's what really kind of set my kids apart and made the world of a difference, because there was order. I think that's one huge word that we as parents have to come to grips with is order. Like honestly, order in the home, because you're a mom. So kids are watching, kids are learning. Is your house clean? Are you making meals, or is it always, TV dinners? Is it always these last minute things? Like, what are we really doing to make a home? My mom, God bless her soul. One thing I loved about my mom, she was a stickler about feeling like it was a home in perspective of how orderly it was, how she always had fresh meals on the table. And, yeah, there were ups and downs, but one thing she did is she definitely made sure that we knew we ate well, we were fed well, we had a very orderly home. And yes, we did a lot of the cleaning, but it still was a home. Okay. And sometimes you walk in buildings or you walk in rooms, houses, and some feel homey and some don't. Some feel like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And the children can, excuse me. So children can pick up on stuff like that. So we have to be careful of what we're building. I think also being your child's hero, because a part of that also is a part of being orderly and making sure that the children can come home to peace, and that there's not this like narcissistic abuse, there's not emotional abuse, there's not crazy perverted abuse, there's not physical abuse, but that there's just peace. Leave the kids alone, let them be at peace. Now, I'm not saying if they're being destructive that you don't, try to correct that. But what I mean is that they're just at peace. They're in their element. They feel safe. They feel like the home is a refuge from out there, Um, I love how my children, they really do enjoy what God has given us. And my daughter is a homebody. She really likes to stay in her room. If she could just live in her room, she would, And I'm the type, like, I like to go places because I grew up in an environment that, yes, it was orderly, but I was also very we were very constricted, confined. Because that's just how my mom ran the ship because she had 10 children. So God bless her soul, to each his own. But what I say is having order is so key. It should be able to work like clockwork. There should be some type of respect in dialogue and conversations. It shouldn't be all this yelling and substances, being used that are not good for the home, not good for us, right? I think there should be some type of peace, because when people walk into the home and they leave the home, there's that aura, they can sense that, so we definitely have to be, look into, see how we can, do better with that. I also want to say, parents, we're the ones setting the tones. So, it's important that we are the cheerleaders for our children, and that we are constantly like giving them what they need to stay motivated and whatnot. So also want to um, I also want to show a little clip that I was able to find that talks more about how we can, as parents, motivate our kids as we are ending the school year. Um, Excuse me, my little princess is doing her thing.
Schoolwork, deadlines, exams, or chores? If so, this video is what you need. I've spent many thousands of hours working with teens around the world to transform them into
All right, that's cool. Let's find out what he has to say.
like perseverance and responsibility. These are qualities that matter more than awards or good grades. Prioritize the meaningful over the measurable, and your teens will become more motivated in the long run. Do your best to celebrate your teens' effort rather than just their achievements. You could say things to your teens like, do you feel proud of yourself for all the effort you put into preparing for the chemistry test? Or, you showed real commitment by practicing hard even when you didn't feel like it. I'm Daniel Wong, and I specialize in helping teens to thrive. Now let's move on to tip number 2. Respect your teens' autonomy. Teens are in a fascinating stage of life. They're figuring out who they are, what they care about, and how they want to navigate the world. Naturally,
All right, let's keep going. Another tip.
as a family. According to Dr. Ann Fischel's research, 80% of teens say they're the most likely to talk to their parents during meal times. So if you haven't already done so, make family dinners a priority.
Yes.
If you're finding this video helpful so far, please click the like button and please subscribe to.
Got some tips as to how we can motivate our teens, our children in general. And I just want to encourage parents, don't be so hard on yourself. You're doing your best. Just continue to work on yourself every day. That's all we can do. Be grateful that, God Almighty found you worthy to be a parent, however it came about. And know that you're truly that child's hero. So I wish you guys the best. And thank you so much again for joining me on the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White. Remember that this show is going to be featured on Spotify and on all of my social media channels. You can also follow me on all of my social media outlets, as I spoke about before. Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is the India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123, and TikTok is Dr. India White. You can also check out the website www.india-white.com for books, blogs, and to schedule me for an upcoming speaking or coaching event. And thank you for all of those, by the way, that have been supporting me in all these various events. I'm actually looking to get into more spaces to help with, more leadership opportunities, however that comes about. I did just cross over and get another master's in Christian leadership. So I'm looking for opportunities to help serve and support in whatever capacity possible in the arena of leadership. Now, upcoming events, we've got FCTM, we've got the virtual conference in Texas, and of course the Grit Academy. You can always access gritty stuff that way. And then, of course, the Grit Workshop, Robert Kaplinski and the team, we did that a couple years ago. You've got the Grit Workshop titled How to Harness Grit to Help Students Thrive. Then you've got Grit Academy, as I mentioned before. And so, the school year is winding down. And so I am starting to get some requests to come to school districts and things. Thank you in advance. Spread the word. I'm here for you guys. And again, happy Mother's Day to every single one of you, and to those that your moms have passed. For those of us that our moms have passed away, God bless you. And you're in my prayers. Just know that it'll get better. And just cherish the great memories that you have with those beautiful queens. And so with that said, guys, stay gritty. And maybe I can show you Princess. Let me see. Oh, if she comes up. Mama, they want to see you. Excuse me, guys. Okay. All right. Can you see her? Yay. All right, guys. All right. You guys take care. Stay gritty. See ya.